Hello, how are you guys doing? Happy Saturday. So just a little introduction. Today, I'll be submitting my paper finally after this live, which I'm excited about. Um, and we are heading into spring break, so I'm really happy about that. Um, I've also decided to retire out of my teaching career. I don't know. It'll be between now and 2027. So I'll be planning on that. That is my plan. I've been thinking about this for the last 5 years, and I just decided to do it. It was time. Um, so next week, since we're off, I'm gonna talk to the retirement people and kind of make a plan and then apply to the university and to be a lecturer. And just if I get the job, I quit. If I Because it's really tight with universities right now, with all the budget cuts and everything going on. So when you apply to a college, everything is based on seniority, and you always start from the bottom of the rung, and that's fine. If I had stuck, because I had already been teaching, if I had not quit, I would have not been in this position. But I don't know I don't know how to navigate this stuff very well. So it's going to happen though this time, and I'm all in. So today I just wanted to talk and see if you guys wanted to talk about anything: politics, music. Could be music. I love music. Um, and education and my books. So I thought I'd start with my first book. So this one is called Research Based Bilingual Instruction: The Impact of Multiple Modalities in a K-12 English Learner Classroom. This was my very first book. This one was done out of my this was my second book, sorry, not my first one. This one, this one right here, this one was made out of my dissertation, my research, my PhD dissertation. I took it and I made it into a book. So this one's called The Struggles of Minority English Learners, How Learner Feedback Can Improve English Skills. This one's a great book, okay? It talks about the perspective of English learners, multilingual learners, and what's working for them and what's not working for them. So it was really interesting to make. My students really fueled it, and the research sort of bloomed out of that. Um, One thing that I learned about myself is that I love to write. I love to write. I like to write out of my heart. And when you write out of your heart, it's not always going to be, grammatically correct. And, you just get your feelings out at the moment. And that's something I love to do. And I've known that for years. But I've taken that and I've taken it to a different level. And it is something I love to do. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the struggles of minority English learners while we wait for people to come in. So I just wanted to start with the acknowledgments. So I wanted to I want to acknowledge Miss Nita John, Dr. Paul Sims, Dr. Craig Schilling, Dr. Isabel Nunez, Dr. Alan Simpson, and many of the faculty at Concordia University, Chicago. Those are the people they were my dissertation chairs, professors, people that supported me throughout this process. Miss Nita John has been supportive in guiding me through what courses to take and assisting me through the doctoral process. Dr. Paul Sims was supportive, and I'm thankful for his encouragement as my dissertation chair. And Dr. Craig Schilling for being my dissertation reader and for his support throughout the program. And Dr. Isabel Nunez for serving on my dissertation committee as a reader and methodologist. And Dr. Alan Simon and the rest of the Concordia University Chicago staff also were very encouraging. They were all very helpful and supportive. So this is my introduction. As an English teacher currently working in an urban district in Southern California, teaching English language learner EL students in regular English classes, my goal for this research was to explore academic strategies that could help EL students improve their reading engagement, which it was, a real struggle. I had gone from an alternative high school to a regular high school. And I wasn't prepared for a regular high school in meaning I was prepared because I had done my student teaching. But when I got my first job, it was at the alternative high school. So it was mainly students that were struggling academically or behaviorally. When I got into the regular high school, they had me teaching English learners, and I really wasn't prepared. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I basically, just took myself and trained myself and had to learn everything on my own. And so, I used my dissertation as a tool to get there. So Grant and Wong, 2003, defined ELs as children born in the United States or in other countries who are from homes where the primary language spoken is not English. These students may have limits in their understanding, speaking, reading, and writing of English. The United States is both known for and enriched by a magnificent array of cultures, ideologies, and languages. Yet despite its continuous influx of migrants, refugees, and visitors, American society often overlooks the many problems inherent in one critical factor of their acculturation: language, right? That is the big thing, is language, communication, right? It's everything. I mean, it's uncomfortable. When I go to another country and I don't know their language, it is uncomfortable, but I do make an attempt. I use Google Translate. I use people. I use things to help me, get by. But it's uncomfortable because you're basically shifting your brain you're shifting your brain in a different way, right? You have to, number one, know what to say. You have to be respectful. You have to communicate what you want. A lot of languages are very fast, right? They're fast. When I was in Spain, I was communicating, and the Spanish language is very fast. They're always trying to get, they get their ideas out quickly. And so I'm just trying to figure it all out. And it's very hard. It's uncomfortable and it's frustrating. But can you imagine what students coming from other countries into this country are going through if that's what you're going through as a foreigner in a different world? It's a lot. It's uncomfortable. You're not happy, The English language is the most predominantly used language in the country. After having incorporated numerous language and enduring several periods of change, it is now a modern, well-developed language rich in creativity, with a vast vocabulary and many semantic and contextual variations. And that's very real. When I was in Spain and when I was in Greece, trying to get by, trying to deal with the culture and being safe, traveling alone, not making any hasty decisions. Those, it's nerve wracking. Can you imagine what it's like coming in as a family and navigating a different country, trying to get your kids into school, into a public school setting, making sure they're safe, making sure they know how to get by, making sure they know how to do all these things, and trying to navigate the world on your own. So it's hard. Languages constantly evolve, and history and influence from other languages have not surprisingly morphed the grammar and syntactic structure of modern English, while expanding its lexicon and broadening semantic meanings. But while the vast majority of the American population fluently speaks and communicates in the English language, a seemingly forgotten minority struggles to do so every day, due in large part to the lack of targeted educational services and supporting research to assist them in learning English. ELs are still the silent victims of our society, often isolated by their races, cultures, ideologies, as well as due to their difficulty learning the English language. And you really are isolated. You're isolated with, you don't know anything. You don't, and I just keep putting myself in their shoes, because when I was in Spain, when I was in Greece, when I was in Italy, I was really frustrated. Not only was I dealing with this culture shock, I was in a city where tourists aren't exactly welcome. And I made the mistake of going through a travel agent, because they didn't prepare me for really everything. Really, they don't. You have to do your research. So I learned not to go through a travel agent anymore and just to do it on my own. So you have to, they don't like tourists they didn't like tourists where I was. And so even though it was right there near the city center, they don't like tourists. The travel agent didn't prepare me for anything. So never again will I go through that. And I felt isolated, just like our students feel. I felt, like I didn't know. No one was helping me either. No one was really helping me. So it was really upsetting, and it was really frustrating. Poverty, oppression, isolation, and fear are commonplace within these groups. Their inability to speak and understand English has left them struggling to communicate, debilitating their ability to obtain the information vital to bettering their lives. When these minorities continue to receive less than effective means of understanding English in schools, their oppression continues. And that's important, right? When I went into this classroom, I didn't know anything. And that's not only oppressive to the students, that's oppressive to the teacher. Not knowing anything, not knowing how to communicate with them, not knowing, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? What do I do to help them navigate the curriculum? How do I get them to sort of engage with it? So I decided to take my PhD and just my dissertation and research it. Further valuable insights on the phenomena have been explored from the field of critical pedagogy, wherein critical race theory in particular posits that whiteness has been placed at the center of teaching frameworks, marginalizing communities of color. And that thing about whiteness being like, basically, they're right, the curriculum is made through the lens of, you know, uh, Caucasian people who may not understand cultures, nuances, languages, things like that. So I think that's critical, even being in the classroom, right? You do have to be a person of color. I am a person of color. But I'm pretty whitewashed, but my parents were immigrants. They came to this country, they didn't know anything. And so it was very difficult, for them. So I do understand it. I understand it. I understand my culture. I love my culture. I love my food. I love everything. But to not know how to navigate things is very difficult. So understanding effective approaches and alternative methods of English language in language instruction could help teachers design better and more inclusive strategies that will most optimally help these students learn English. Moreover, by ensuring that the very subjects of such instruction are included themselves through active attempts to harness the insights and experiences of ELs, their empowerment and greater agency would also be promoted. So it's important to promote the language, to promote the culture, to celebrate the culture, right? That was the big thing with me when I first got to my school, was to celebrate the culture, decorate my classroom with people of their culture that are successful, put, in my classroom, Hispanic heritage, celebrations and books and papers and just things that celebrated their culture. That way they felt welcome. They felt welcome to be in my classroom. Please, if you're here, chat. Remember, it is 18 and over. It's adults only. But please do ask any questions in the chat. And during my years as an EL instructor and researcher, I have encountered countless situations when my students have suffered as a result of their limited understanding of English. Some examples are social, while others are economic, right? It's not like they come to the country, they come here with money and They don't come with a lot, they don't know what, they come to this country wanting a better life for their children, for themselves. So it is it's something a lot we have to do and we have to carry as educators. At least that was my perspective on my role. Witnessing the struggles my students have endured, I wondered what could be done to help these students master one of the world's dominant and most challenging languages. English is not easy, right? If it were easy, why would they have it even in the curriculum, in the American curriculum? We still have to teach it, right? We still have to expose our regular students to a wide variety of literature. We have to teach them how to write, right? In this world of, social media and texting language, we have to prepare them for the next level. I found myself compelled to give a voice to the voiceless, and I was compelled. And that's why I continue to be compelled to give a voice to the voiceless. And I'm not saying I represent every opinion out there, everything, but I do want to help them have access to curriculum. I want to support my students. I want to help them in any way I can to be successful. A lot of kids have access to a lot of things, right? Kids from wealthy backgrounds, kids with, from backgrounds that, where their parents are successful, they have access to everything. Why am I worried? I'm not worried about them. I would like to see other students, thrive. So the introduction goes into my chapter 1 overview. The chapters, there's 3 chapters. So chapter 1 contains an overview of my research, including relevant background data and theory. Chapter 2 deals with the results of the participant interviews and what was learned about ELs and the best methods of instruction. And chapter 3 provides a summary of the study. So if you want some great strategies, for your students, right, for your English learners, multilingual learners, and it could even work for regular students, please consider buying this book, The Struggles of Minority English Learners, How Learner Feedback Can Improve English Skills. And let me tell you, even if you don't do this, right? You don't buy this book. They have some good ideas for how to get feedback from your students. If you are a teacher or even a parent, give them a survey. Give them a survey at the beginning of the year, asking them what's working, what's not working, whatever it is, and get constant feedback, And it's hard, it's not like, I've done it all. I've wanted to get feedback from students. I've done what they've asked, but then they give them an inch and they take a mile. Sometimes you have to pull back, but for the most part, I do try to be flexible. For example, for the rest of the year, I decided, because it is the stressful time for them and they do like it, let them flexible Fridays. They can work on the assignment at hand in my class, or they can work on homework for other classes. So they like that. They prefer that. Or letting them, I don't let them eat in my class. It's a computer lab. So, but they can have drinks in bottles or in tumblers. My point is, get feedback from your students. It is only going to serve you well. Even if it's just as an opening activity, have them write to you what they want from you. What do they want to learn from you? And most of them will say, I want to improve my writing skills. I want to improve my reading skills. I want to improve my research skills. So anyway, buy the book. It's great. It's a great tool. These are tools. So my next book is Research-Based Bilingual Instruction, the Impact of Multiple Modalities in a K-12 Learner Classroom, English Learner Classroom. So this is all about the multiple modalities we have, right? So students have multiple faculties. They have their musical faculty. They have their hand touch faculty. They have movement faculty. They have, all of these different faculties. And for this book, I did get interviews as well. Interviews are everything. They help with getting feedback and information. So instead of going through boring, my boring stuff, these are some of the interview questions I asked and some of the responses I got. So how do video games help you learn English? Games, if structured correctly, can motivate and incentivize students to look more rooted in the grammar as an example. These were interviews for teachers, okay, because I wanted to get teacher perspective. How do sounds help you learn the English language? Spanish is phonetic, but English borrows from many languages, so using sounds may help with Latin-derived words, but may not help with those words derived from other languages. How does using multimedia, such as video games and pictures, help you learn English with your peers? So a lot of this was for students as well. This was actually for high school, my high school students, some of them, and for teachers. Multimedia videos help with subjects where there are procedures involved, or with visualization, such as the compounds in chemistry or flowcharts in computer coding. So visuals, acting out, especially if you're teaching Shakespeare, helps, students learn, right? If you want them to learn, let's say, a word, let's say you wanted to teach them some sort of academic word. They can act it out. They can take the word, look at visuals, and act it out. In their chair, they can do it in their seat. They can do it standing up. They can do it in front of the classroom. They can do it any way they want, okay? But it does help them, okay? Hands. I use my hands constantly, okay, to express myself. And it's annoying sometimes, but it works, right? When I'm out there, when I'm lecturing, when I'm this, when I'm that, it helps students. How does using sight help you learn and understand the English language? Look at something. Look at a meme. Look at a meme moving. Look at a meme using language. It's very helpful. Participant 20, how do visuals help you learn the English language?
It helps me see and hear at the same time, such as reading a book or studying. If it helps if I read it out aloud. Reading aloud helps. When I read aloud to students, it's helpful in how things sound and how they hear things and how they can play with words and how they can, all of it. Teaching and learning is messy. It's not a perfect thing. And you have to understand that. You have to know that. How do movies and television help you learn the English language? You learn new words that you may not have known, right? I often look up words I'm not familiar with. If I'm watching a movie, uh, let's say I went to go see Scream 7, right? Most of the language, obviously, I knew, but some of it, like in the police world, I didn't know because I'm not in the police world. So I had to kind of like Google them. So you have to kind of Google things sometimes, or if it's a movie about science or medicine or something, you have to kind of Google those things. Multimedia, video games, pictures, how does it help you learn with your peers? And now that video games have they're going out the door because social media, right? Everything is on like Twitch and doing all that stuff. So, how does it help you understand things? Working in groups, right? So, this book is a good tool for how students can use their multiple modalities in the classroom, how you can help students use multiple modalities in the classroom. This is not, it's very cheap. These books are cheap. You can find them online, you can find them for very cheap prices, but they're great tools if you're a teacher to help you with students, multilingual learners, literacy, English, whatever. Because look, if we were perfect teachers, we would not be failing students. Okay, none of your students would be getting Fs. If we were doing everything that this book and these books say to do, no students would be failing. Okay, so and that's what principals look for. If you are failing students, there's something going on. Obviously, if the student is never attending, that's a problem, right? Something is going on at home, make the calls to the parents. I do make calls to parents, not every day, but the students that are constantly not showing up or maybe coming to class once in a while and, having a chip on their shoulder, I will make a call. But the key with these books is to avoid failing students. You don't want to fail students. When you use these strategies, you are telling your students, I will not fail you. And that will make them happy, a little bit more motivated to attend class. And, a little bit, you can be a little bit more flexible in your classroom, let them breathe a little bit. I've been in classrooms where you can tell students are not breathing. And I used to be like that too. I'm very strict, it's got to be structured, right? If they're in a group, they've got to be working in this structured environment where the conversations are structured. With again, a little bit more flexibility, let their brains wander. It's important. It's part of why they have a brain, right? Let them think. And again, we can design our classrooms to be welcoming and blah, 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 all of that. But really, and I do that. It's the way the students are interacting with each other and with the curriculum and with their peers. This is going to help. Okay. And I know there's a lot out there and it's overwhelming, but I hope you decide to buy my book because it really does work and it's helpful. And it's real. It's real interviews. They are real interviews from real people who are in the trenches. So we know. And so this is my next book, Understanding and Improving How K-12 Multilinguals Are Taught. So this is all about how to improve how multilinguals are taught. So I did dedicate this book to my mother and father, Amama Corey and Fozie Hasso. Those are my parents. My parents, sorry, I needed a little bit of coffee. My parents, I love them. They are my inspiration. Later in life, they decided to get divorced. It was very heartbreaking for me, and it was very hard for me to accept. Um, you know, growing up, I had a great childhood, but as they got older, they got sicker, and I guess they couldn't stand themselves. They couldn't deal with it. So it was very hard for me to deal with because I love my parents. When my dad passed away in 2019, it was very hard for me to accept. He's my dad. I love him and I love my parents. And they are the inspiration for my books. They'll always be the inspiration. They will always be the inspiration for my work. And I keep that with me close to the vest, as they say in police world. My parents are my inspiration for everything. So just to give you a little bit of the prologue, I don't want to give you too much and again, you can navigate this book, everything is in the index. Throughout this book, I give you background. Multilingual learners are coming into the public school system in droves from all over the world, wherever you are. If you are in another country, if you're in the United States, these books will help. But primarily from Latin American countries, many school districts are providing professional development opportunities to teachers to support multilingual learners better, but is not enough in the long run. It is not enough. Okay. And again, we go back to who is providing this professional development. Do they have experience with multilingual learners? Number one. Do they have personal experience with multilingual learners? Do they have experience with being uncomfortable as a multilingual learner, either by traveling or by speaking to multilingual learners or by learning another language? You have to look at those things because that is going to drive how curriculum is going to be created or how successful students are going to be in your classroom. Another situation is teachers are left to seek out and provide the necessary development on their own. Unfortunately, that's what I did. I went to professional developments, free ones, whether they're webinars, whether they're conferences, I did all the footwork on my own, and because I wasn't getting anywhere, in my own classroom, I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting any real help. Like, what do I do with the student that's frustrated and angry? Or what do I do when I've already eliminated all the barriers? I've translated everything for them. I've sat them with their peers. I've given them all the tools. I've allowed them to use translation apps. Well, what's left? Well, it's either they're not motivated or engaged with the curriculum. That's number one. Number two is they have a learning disability. What else could it be? They're struggling, right? You've given them everything. What's the other problem? Or they're having issues at home, whatever, at home or with their parents or with their girlfriends or boyfriends, personal drama. Because we all know that when you're a teenager, you just go through all this. And so how do what do you do? They don't teach you this. They don't teach you this in college. They don't teach you this, in a lot of places. Unfortunately, like if you go to a conference that's based in New York, they are going to have, because it's very diverse. Most of their conferences, the popularity around multilingual learner teaching and whatnot is popular because it is diverse. But if I were to go to Wisconsin and get and to teach this stuff, I don't think it would be a popular topic because a lot of schools are
not diverse, right? They're not very diverse. You're the question is, how do you find these tools to help your students? So I in this book I do kind of follow Maria, who's a Spanish speaking student, and I did change the name obviously for privacy purposes. And she, at first glance, she doesn't look like a multilingual learner. But the best definition of her language skill level might be translanguaging. Translanguaging is the word for activities that enable and encourage English as a second foreign language learners to utilize their whole linguistic repertoire to empower them and help them realize their full potential. So what translanguaging is using kind of both languages, right, to help the student learn and master the English language. To promote their learning, this entails encouraging them to talk, write, and translate between their native language or any other language they speak and English. So it's helping them navigate both, switch their brain to both, right, constantly, and to eventually help them navigate English and to master it. Promoting translanguaging requires cultivating good attitudes toward multilingualism and encouraging EAL, English as a second foreign language students, to feel proud of their language and abilities. And that's the key. When you are teaching them all of this stuff, you are not erasing their native language. You are promoting both languages. You are still preserving their home language. You do not want to eliminate where they come from. I told you that I come from immigrant parents. I love my culture. Anybody who tries to pull me away from it, I would be resistant to it. And I'd get angry and upset. I'm like, I love my language. I love my culture. I love the food. Don't do this to me. Don't, because I will reject it. And that's the way students will feel. While I understand mastering English is key to surviving and to being successful as an academic, I still love my culture. I still love the language. I love the nuances. I love all the problems with it. I love it all. I'm sorry. That's me. I growing up, I knew people in my life who would try to take me away from it. And I'm like, don't. My parents are the best. My mom was the best cook. My dad was the best cook. I would be so angry and upset and frustrated when people were trying to pull me away from it. And it was hard. So they call me rebellious, and no, I love my culture. I love my parents. I love the country they came from. I would do projects on the country they came from in elementary school. So as you can see, my own passion and my own anger, growing up here, can you imagine when people are trying to do that in this country, in the public school systems? Or teachers, or no, you're gonna find kids getting rebellious. So you do want to preserve their culture, but help them navigate the English language and celebrate their culture. So Maria is a young girl that lives in Mexico with her mother, father, and grandmother. She enjoys going to school where she is in the 3rd grade. Now, this is a girl that I found in research, but I did change the name. It was in a research. It was in some academic research. It wasn't someone I physically met. It was someone I learned about through my research, but I did change her name. She enjoys going to school where she is in the 3rd grade, and the subjects are reading and math. She scores at a very high level and qualifies for advanced coursework. Her native language is Spanish, and she has no experience with English. She's very articulate in her speech and enjoys drawing. Mrs. Smith is a 2nd grade teacher at a public elementary school. She has taught in her position for 6 years. Each year, Mrs. Smith meticulously researches professional development opportunities to improve in her position.
Her primary goal is to teach her students in a way that works best for them. To do so, she actively searches out new methods and approaches to learning that will help in her classroom. Maria's family is facing some distressing issues, and they must relocate to the United States to be with extended family. Although the whole family is nervous about the change, Maria is especially so. Leaving her home and country is one thing, but entering into so many unknowns is a different story. Maria, as a young girl who only just entered the world of education, is already going through traumatic experiences from back home. Her family is now in search for something more stable, safer, and more exciting. Maria, on one hand, knows that her family is only leaving home for good, and that she will have better prospects, more promising future in the United States. Yet she is also anxious that her language barrier will hinder her from becoming included in the studying process and making new friends in the city that she has never been to before. In times like this, teachers should be the only one who would understand how traumatizing it might be for a young student not to be able to communicate with their classmates. Teachers should be ready to help their students feel more included and provide them with specialized exercises. And again, that's the key. So you have students coming from other countries, already traumatized, already dealing with the transition. How do you help fill in the gap? Again, it's not eliminating their culture, their language, what they grew up with, what they felt safe with. You want to help them with the things that make them feel safe, right? You want to start with things that make them feel safe and then move them forward into what they're trying to master, right? English is just a tool, right? What you're teaching them is just a tool. You're not getting rid of who they are personally. You're just trying to give them that tool to get through their school years and to get to college and to hopefully master it enough to, succeed in college. So this is what this book is about. It's about understanding that and to help them improve. These are tools, more tools. So please, when you buy this, you can find it cheap. You'll find all the tools. And again, you don't have to read the whole thing. You can go to the index and find everything you need in the index, okay? At the back of the book, whatever topic you're looking for in the index. You don't need to look for everything, okay? Growing up, I wasn't the greatest reader because I wasn't mature enough. But now I see it. So this is the creme de la creme. This is my latest book. And I am going to write a fifth book, but I'm taking a break to publish my first paper. And I'm just taking a break. I think I'm overwhelmed. Anyway, this is successful research-based somatic and linguistic instructional strategies for multilingual K-12 and adult learners. Somatic is the everything, right? Using all their faculties and language. So this is another great book. And so to my friends and colleagues, Ali Safivan for supporting me. He's been great. He's a professor at Rochester University. My parents, Amama Corey, and my late father, Fozi Hassan, who always supported education, and those others who have supported me throughout this whole process. So again, I give my acknowledgments. I wanted to go over the introduction because I wanted to talk about Italy. So as I walked through Italy for the first time, I encountered the locals. I communicated with the staff at the hotel to get to my room, and everything was going smoothly despite the language barriers. Italians in Florence, Italy, do not like to speak English. They do not like to speak English. No, absolutely not. Even in Spain, in some parts of Spain, they don't like to speak English. And if you speak English to them, they refuse. They refuse. Can you imagine? Can you imagine coming to this country, knowing a language,
and nobody wants to speak your language to help you. Can you imagine what that's like? I was frustrated in Italy and in Spain. So I felt awkward at times. I was trying to get to my hotel room. I was trying to get my hotel room needs to be taken care of. And what made it even worse was that they knew I was a tourist and had no Italian speaking experience. Nonetheless, I was able to get by using the Google Translate app on my iPhone. Interestingly, I had a similar experience in Greece while checking into my hotel. The hotel clerks in Spada, Greece, were more accommodating with English, especially when I made an effort to use the translation app default on my iPhone. This approach helped me feel more at ease during the interaction. Furthermore, I was very uncomfortable walking through Florence, Italy. For the first time as a solo traveler. If this is the way I felt walking through Italy for the first time, I can only imagine what it feels like for first generation immigrant students walking through an American classroom for the first time. Again, can you imagine what it's like for American students walking through an American classroom, not knowing the language, not knowing anything, and no one wants to help them? I mean, let's just say no one wants to help them. I wasn't that type, but there are people out there who are. Can you imagine what it's like? Just, of course, you're going to shut down. Of course, you're going to get an F. Of course, you're not going to do it. And this goes for all students. If you don't connect with them at any level, when the day after the Oscars, I was so happy for Michael B. Jordan. I told my students, I'm so happy for him. Of course, they just kind of, but it does help to sort of say, well, I'm connecting with you. If you're a fan of Michael B. Jordan, and my students are, I learned that my students love Michael B. Jordan. So I said I was so happy for him. Just doing that shows them you're on their level. Get to your students' level, repertoire, language. I'm not saying be fake, right? The teachers that are they can see through it. Students can see through the fakeness. Don't be fake. Be real. And they will see it, and they will understand, and they will make an effort. Focus on the positive. Don't focus on the negative. I know we get frustrated. I get frustrated. I'm tons of mistakes. Tons. But you have to get to their level. You have to try. You have to say to yourself, I made a mistake. I'm going to erase that. I'm going to take it off my shoulders, and I'm going to make an effort. Research shows that ELs do not do well when being taught traditionally. They don't. You can't just sit there and say, memorize this word. It doesn't work. According to Podlazny, other research suggests that creative drama activities in which nonverbal communication is used in combination with verbal interactions can be effective for classroom teachers to encourage oral language use. So again, this goes over my experiences in Italy and what your students are going through and just some simple strategies. And again, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to read the whole thing, but you can use the index to help you navigate. It's a tool. These are tools. Please buy it. You can find it for a very cheap price. Great book. So I wanted to segue into politics, and everything that's going on in the world. How do you feel about it? What's going on in Iran? It's crazy. What are we doing there? What are we doing in Iran? What is it for? I mean, what are your thoughts? I have thoughts. I don't know if it's the truth. Is it for oil? Is that why we're doing this? For oil? And our gas prices are going up? Is that why our gas prices are going up? So when the war is over, the gas prices are going to go down. So are we saying, well, we're going to keep hiking the gas prices so we can stop the war? When we stop the war, we bring them down. What are we doing? What are we doing? We are killing people. We are causing havoc. How do we resolve that? I don't know. What are your thoughts? It's heartbreaking. The Middle East it's a gold mine. I mean, it has a lot of resources. Anywhere where you have desert, they're going to have lots of resources. And we're just taking. Why are we taking? This is not ours to take. We have resources. Again, what are we doing? We're showing we are King Kong, the superpower, and we're going to these countries and bombing innocent people. We're going to Egypt. We're doing this in other countries. Why? Why? And again, I'm grateful for where I live, but why are we doing this? I'm more of the human perspective. These people are just living their lives and they're going through this. I can't imagine what's going on over there. I won't travel to the Middle East. No way. I mean, I'm even scared to travel to Europe. I have plans to go to Portugal. I don't know if I want to go with everything going on. It's crazy. So tell me your thoughts on what's going on in Iran. How do you feel? Tell me. And then true crime. I want to talk a little bit about true crime. So, like the Nancy Guthrie case, they still haven't found her. It's awful. I can't imagine what Savannah Guthrie is going through. I can't. And again, I'm going back to the human aspect. I live in a very safe neighborhood, very safe. Anything weird that goes on, anybody that's weird, it's very small. Any odd people, the neighbors would notice, they'd get rid of them immediately. We had a situation the other day. Somebody was at the pool, I think, and they immediately, took care of it. So, I mean, it's a gated area. They just got in. So safety is number one for me. But yeah, I mean, what do you do? How do you handle that? How do you deal with that? The kid that went to Spain, the Barcelona kid that was out partying and, then he fell and he passed away. That's so sad. It was so sad, heartbreak. I was there. I was in that area. I've never been to that nightclub though. I don't go to nightclubs when I travel. I don't go to nightclubs because I know it's like you don't know what you're doing with. There's no regulations. You could be you don't have to be 21 to get access to alcohol or anything. Everything is easy to access there. You just don't know. I don't trust the drink. I don't trust what they put in there. I mean, it's bad enough I have trust issues with the food I eat over there. I wouldn't trust anything over there. So, but he was young and he was going to see, his friends and, you think that, it's a normal, he was supposed to be home this weekend. I can't imagine what this family's going through. It's just sad and unavoidable, but my heart goes out to them. You have to be safe when you're traveling. It's just like when people come from other countries to this country, they're very cautious. Why can't Americans be that way? Cautious. Anyway, give me your thoughts on all of this stuff. So yeah, I decided I'm going to leave the K-12 profession to go into college teaching. It's just something I decided to do. I'm going to start, I almost wanted to send out my lecture application today, but I'm like, I have to slow down here. Next week, I'm going to talk about how I'm going to apply. I'm not good at this stuff. I'm not good at like finances and retirement and all that. And then I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take the plunge, It's time. It's time. It's time to help others navigate the system and support them. And while there are a lot of people who can do that, but I think that there's a lot of people who don't know, who need help. And I think I'm the perfect person to help them. Wow, I've been on for 55 minutes live. I will be doing interviews. I'm hoping to do some interviews. So that'll be interesting to do. Um, but I do want to kind of do something here. I want to try something. Push the system. I don't want to do videos, but I do want to do. Um, so this is an interesting article that I wanted to share. I want to sort of play with this screen. Okay, so I'm sharing with you an article. It says designing the 2026 classroom, emerging learning trends in an AI-powered education system, which is a lot of what my research is like bringing technology into the classroom. So the article starts with, and this is by Faculty Focus. I love to give credit. The name of the person is Grace Goldstone. Artificial intelligence is reshaping education faster than many can realize or believe. According to a 2025 report by Microsoft, 86% of education organizations now use generative AI, highest adoption rate of any industry, and an uncharacteristically rapid pace for a sector which has historically lagged behind in technology adoption. Across educational organizations, AI is moving from experimentation to impact. Each year, more institutions increasingly accelerate their use of AI. So looking forward to the classroom, sort of skipping through, of 2026, AI will expand its stance as a powerful service for learners and teachers alike. From the earliest stages of education, AI-driven platforms are helping provide real-time personalized English instruction, helping level the playing field for young learners in developing countries. AI's impact extends across primary, secondary, and higher education, supporting personalized learning that adapts to individual needs, delivers instant feedback, enhances student engagement and outcomes, and reduces administrative demands on teachers. So I'm going a little bit there, a little bit lower. An AI PRM report of US students, for instance, found a 62% increase in test scores among those using AI-powered instruction systems, attributed to the technology's ability to identify and address knowledge gaps before they develop into larger challenges. Instead of being combined step moments, instruction can respond as learning happens, guiding students through their thinking and helping them build understanding in real time, which is great. Democratization of learning. Families who relocated recently to English-speaking countries often experience difficulties teaching the language to their children. English proficiency is widely viewed as a critical driver of future educational and economic opportunity for young children. Although in regions like Latin America, across access to high equity or high quality in-person instruction remains limited to a small sector of families who can afford private lessons. So they go over a lot of this stuff. I don't want to bore you, but it is the future. It is something that we have to think about. It is the future. So with that said, I am going to wrap up and conclude this live session. Please, please, please subscribe to my channel. It's helping me. I'll try not to bore you, but I did promise you this live, so I wanted to give it to you. And please, 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 subscribe, view, comment, do whatever. Have a great weekend.